Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Taco Tuesday. Hey, Paul, you made it on time. That's cool. We got a big lineup. I better shut this man off. A lot of important videos to get out today. I found two new guys that talks uh, police riots and all that on YouTube. They're new ones, so we'll check them out. And we got some development stories. One from last night. There was another assassination plot for Trump. They said that makes number 12. They said so. I got clips on that, and then that update on the plane crash or the accident the other day. And then I don't know if anybody heard, did that plane crash disappear? Paul, did you hear anything about that? They're saying the plane crash might be disappeared or something. I don't know. Then I got videos of Trump speaking over there at the G7, and Billy's out with her first one. I got at least three Vinny videos and a couple Trish videos and all kinds of stuff. Oh, you haven't? Yeah. Hey, I had Mel's channel there, and she said not till next Monday. She has something not till like the 22nd. I can't remember if she had this whole week off. I thought she said she was taking the whole week off. There. Should be able to hear all the videos now. I know this is a bad time. Everybody's at work, and hopefully we get some people in chat. Everybody having a regular day at work. I'll be on again tonight. 2 shows. I guess there was an earthquake. Two out of I'll do a earthquake video too. Oh wow! Are you looking for cute single? That Katie Hopkins lady has a 24-minute one, you guys. I think everybody wants to listen to her. I think that's one of the favorites. Oh, Maria. That will be the first big video from Katie. Oh wait, that was 5 months ago. That's an old one. I was looking at the wrong date. So we got a lot of good videos. They're short ones, no long ones, I don't think. I got 15-minute ones, 20-minute ones, and then you got the short 5 and 10-minute ones. But we're going to do the first couple of the 2 development stories. We'll do the first one with Benny on about that plot with Trump. So we're going to go ahead and get started. There's a lot of people at work. All right, it's time to get the intel out. Quiet day today. We had some rain a little bit. Oh, this is the first big intel here.
President Trump has been shot in the head. He's had deer stands disassembled right where he exits his plane. I mean, we forget about these kind of things, right? The guy who stormed Mar-a-Lago with the shotgun, it's like a one-day news cycle, and then it disappears. A man just stormed with a firearm President Trump's speech at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. F-16 jets scrambled to deploy flares as a plane buzzed Palm Beach Airport, where President Trump was supposed to get on his flight. I mean, you lose count of these kind of things. Trump motorcade rerouted after a suspicious device discovered by Secret Service near Florida Airport. They found something that could have been an explosive laying in the road that Trump was to travel.
A lot of 20-minute videos. And
again, we completely forget about all of this and that President Trump had to move the inauguration indoors because of drone threats. And that's what we're facing here at the White House. There was obviously a massive outdoor octagon, and there was a massive plot that was disrupted to have.
Get exclusive Mortal Kombat 2 wallpapers for your PC with
hundreds of explosive drones swarm the claw is what it's called that sat over the octagon at the White House. And you can see here, of course, all outdoors. I was there. It was very exposed, I guess you could just say. There's virtually nothing, there's virtually nothing that would have prevented some type of attack because you're completely outdoors. The entire Trump family was there. Many major dignitaries. The Pope's brother, was there. Many, famous rappers, tech moguls, billionaires. Here's Mark Zuckerberg with President Trump having a grand old time. Look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is bad. Let's go ahead and check in on Kash Patel was there. I actually said hello to Kash Patel while, he was there. He was seated not too far from me. And he didn't mention this, but here we go. On June 10th, the FBI and our law enforcement partners became aware of a potential threat to the UFC America 250 event in Washington, D.C. Individuals outside of the capital region, thanks to the rapid response to the FBI and our partners, we have them in custody. They were stopped cold. The result represented the best of investigative work. It's also noting that ordinary law enforcement team, we were built to detect, respond, and bring justice. So what was going on here? There was a team based out of California of terrorists that were going to use explosive-laden drones to hit the buildings near the event, force a mass evacuation, steer the crowd towards a pre-staged sniper team, officials said. A second wave was then allegedly planned to storm the White House gate, according to officials. Whoa. It could have been very bloody and really, really bad. Let's go.
Interrupting this alleged plot targeting the UFC Freedom 250 event at the White House. Officials telling Fox a network of nearly 24 potential plotters were identified, with at least 5 people in custody right now. The suspects allegedly traveled to Fredericksburg, Virginia to make final preparations for the attack. And the alleged plan allegedly included explosive-packed drones hitting buildings near the event, forcing a mass evacuation, and then steering crowds, get this, toward a pre-staged sniper team. A second wave was then planned to storm the White House gate. The FBI...
I mean, I was at the White House. I was there. I mean, obviously the place was locked down, but so much of this is open air, and there was a UFC Freedom Festival across the street that had tens of thousands of people that were completely exposed. I mean, you can see obviously here the setup is, well, there is no cover for anyone. And you had the Secretary of War there, the Secretary of State, the Vice President was there. The entire administration was gathered outdoors, where you could really have disrupted people. You could really have killed, like mass slaughtered lots of people. Check this out. Here's from the actual filing. You can see the weaponry. You can see the text messages. You can see the data. Let's go ahead and read here from Bill Maluzhin. Details from the federal arrest affidavit that reveal a California man, Michael Allen Thomas, one of the alleged organizers, UFC White House terror plot. Feds say he admitted he believed the U.S. government is run by elites who sacrifice and eat children, had involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, and are protected by Trump. There you go. Is indistinguishable now if you're dealing with somebody from a Hassan Piker Twitch chat or Thomas Massey. That's how disgusting these people have become. And also how subservient they are to narratives that have no founding in reality. There are a lot of people who are implicated in the Jeffrey Epstein documents. There's not one scintilla, not one thread, not one single data point that shows that President Trump did anything other than rat out Jeffrey Epstein to the authorities, rat out his operation, the Palm Beach police, never engaged in anything untoward or illegal with Jeffrey Epstein, kicked him out of his club. I mean, the evidence is all there. They have weaponized and turned this into an op. This is when Trump says it's hoax. This is what he's talking about. And now this is like the second person, the guy who stormed Mar-a-Lago with a shotgun and a can of gasoline, second person who's like, Donald Trump eats children. Donald Trump's got like 50 grandkids, okay? Donald Trump is a man who protects children and did everything that he could to make sure that Jeffrey Epstein met his end in prison. Investigators took screenshots of his signal chats in which the details of the plot were discussed. Maps of the UFC event were drawn. Feds recovered rifles and ammo, and they're in custody, American citizens. There's no foreign nexus believed at this time. Correction, phone and weapon and photos are from a separate defendant, 19-year-old man, Ohio man. They spent $3,000 of his graduation money to purchase lots of ammunition, guns, extra magazines for the attack. He quit his job to meet up with people to conduct missions and recon. They were going to then use these firearms in order to mow down people after there was a stampede. And it wasn't just the claw at the White House. Of course, across the street, there were tens of thousands of people that were gathered for UFC Fan Fest that weren't in the actual Octagon event. Perhaps that would have been the attack vector. And feds say that his mother made the initial call to the police when she became concerned about the activities, and the wider plot was uncovered. Were you briefed on the terror attack, President Trump? No, the only attack I watched were the fighters.
I haven't heard about it, no. But I watched, the attack that I watched were the fighters. And he saw it too, by the way. He was sitting back home in his beautiful palace and he was watching that.
Here's how to go from $300 a month on AC to almost $0. We built this portable cooling system that can drop a room.
President Trump taking it in stride, as he does. Yeah, this would have been really bad. Technology is evolving on weeks, monthly cycles now, weekly, monthly cycles. It's very difficult to defeat. Goodness. And they did it without FISA. There you go. Stopped cold. 23-person drone and sniper plot to massacre people at UFC 5 in custody. Goodness. They did say that this was a no drone zone. This is from before the event. Attention residents and visitors. DC is a no drone zone. If you're heading to the National Mall today, leave your drone at home and report unauthorized activity. That's right. President Trump talking about the drone-proof roof now at the White House they have to build. Yep. There you go. They mapped out events. Very, very scary stuff. J.D. Vance responding to this on Fox News this morning, saying 23 people do not get to the point where they're going to go commit terror without some serious funding and some serious coordination. And Vance is discussing how the left is increasingly resorting to violence. And this could have been really bad. So thank God for law enforcement and those who protected us at this event. If there was a place to strike or to commit terror, this would have been it. And I'm very thankful, not just because I was able, but I'm very thankful. This is how it would have been horrific for our nation. Please be vigilant out there and pray for peace and security. The left isn't going to lose power without being violent. They do this in every single country where we take power away from them. And it's exactly why we must take their power away. This style of behavior, do you think it's going to get better when they're in power? No way. It's going to get far worse. So, ladies and gentlemen, keep fighting. Keep praying.
Okay, that's an update on that from yesterday. Here's the other breaking news.
Killing all 12 people on board. The plane went down shortly after takeoff from Butler Memorial Airport, and some victims' family members witnessed that crash. Scripps News Group anchor Taylor Hemness is live in Butler, Missouri for more on this tragic crash. And Taylor, do we know anything about the cause of the crash?
Unfortunately, no, Holly, we do not. Good morning. You use words there like tragic, unthinkable. You're going to hear a lot of words to describe what happened here in Butler, Missouri on Sunday, and they are all accurate. We heard the word brutal from one of the first responders yesterday, responding to that crash site. You step just over my shoulder this direction. You can still see an active presence there this morning. The actual crash site is hidden just behind these trees and bushes there over my shoulder, but it's right off of Business 49 right there, which was closed throughout most of the day on Sunday. You see first responders still there. As to your question there about what do we know about what happened, we hope to start to learn more about that today when the National Transportation Safety Board investigators arrive to go through this and try and understand exactly what may have happened. Some of the details we have gathered since Sunday add to some of the confusion. One of the biggest parts about that is the plane. We checked FlightAware. We found the registration for this plane that was involved here and looked at the data from FlightAware that shows how often these planes fly. We counted at least 4 flights in the last 12 or 24 hours before this last one that happened with that plane. A couple earlier on Sunday morning and a couple that happened on Saturday evening. So this is a plane that was active in its role of going around this area and taking a lot of skydivers up. Some of the people we talked to referenced the thousands of flights they have taken out of Butler Airport to do exactly that, go skydiving. And when you factor in that math, we talked to people on Sunday who said you just can't imagine that something like this could actually happen.
Everybody else in the airplane I've either jumped with knew personally or knew of, because we're all family. We all jump together at different places, go to big events, and we jump together. I don't know. It was told to me as soon as I walked in there after one of my jumps today, and it just hit me like I don't even know what to say. These things don't happen. They just don't happen.
That's the feeling of the entire skydiving community and people here in Butler after this tragedy on Sunday. It was a beautiful day in Missouri on Sunday, a perfect day to do just what he was describing there. You see the sign here for Skydive Kansas City. They were expecting lots and lots of people to come and do this throughout the course of the day on Sunday, and then that crash ended all of that. The airport itself was closed for the rest of the day on Sunday. We expected to be closed for some time as the federal investigation into exactly what happened there goes on. I'd show you or try to show you some of the runway here, but you'd be blinded by sunlight. It's coming up right there behind the runway, but it's just a couple of 100 yards from where I'm standing. We don't know exactly where that plane took off at what point in the runway, but we do know that it went down very quickly after it took off, killing all 12 people on board, that pilot and 11 would-be skydivers on a tragic Sunday here in Butler. Holly, back to you.
And Taylor, it seems like that area is very rural. Was anything damaged on the ground? Where did the plane crash? Tell us what looks like down there on the ground.
It's a situation, Holly, that honestly, if not for this presence behind me on the road, you'd never really know. And Butler Airport is such that if you don't know it's here, it would be easy to miss. This is a business stretch of Highway 49 that's right here this direction that was closed a lot of the day on Sunday. But the airport itself just looks like a couple of metal buildings. There's some signage, obviously, but if you're not paying close attention as you drive by, you don't even know this is necessarily an airport. You can't easily see the runway from the road. And even though the crash happened very close to that road, you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell because of the greenery there, but that police presence there alerting people to exactly what's going on. Hard to miss if you're not impacted by it, as so many people were. And those families that you mentioned that were watching on the ground when this went down, we were told by some of the other people that skydive here that it.
Okay, that was from yesterday. Let's do 13 minutes here.
Report today. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a very large earthquake and several large aftershocks in China. I'd like to talk about those. I think that we might have a cause. At first, I thought it had to do with the largest mud volcano that's actually here, in our solar system. It's right here, and, I'll show you a little bit about the mud volcano. This came in as an 8 on the shake map. It's in the middle of nowhere, an orange on the pager, very sparsely populated. So this was a big quake. We're getting a 6.3 off our geophones from Australia. We've got no information coming out of China itself. Let me show y'all some things about the area. Y'all need to know, just out of the blue, we've had 4 sizable earthquakes. A 5.4 came in at a 7. A 6.3 came in at an 8. A 5.2. And 8.47. Now, please notice these are all at 10 kilometers of depth, which means that we can't determine the depth of any of these. Now, At first, I thought these were going to be associated with the largest mud volcano in our solar system. I'll show you what that's all about right now. Over at Google Maps, XINJIANG, largest mud volcano on the planet in our solar system. And you can see the Himalayas were the only thing that stopped it from taking over India several times. Several explosions over the many years. You can see the last explosion went exactly where they decided to make the boundary of China. Now, we had some explosions before that formed Burma, that formed Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, all the way down to Malaysia and Singapore. That all comes from the flow of the mud
from this mud volcano. Earth is a living creature and it's growing. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is right here. This has got to be some offshoot of this large mud volcano. Well, I'm afraid James might have been wrong, but I think I did find out what was going on. It's a lot worse than a mud volcano, or it could be determined to be so. This one up north is not showing where it should. It should be showing down here with these, as we just saw on the USGS map. Got a 5.4 or 6.3, a 5.1, and a 4 something. And here is the mud volcano here. And here are the Himalayas. And here's the peninsula that it was built. And what they did is they used the last explosion to actually pick up the heavy white lines, which are the actual Chinese boundaries from Myanmar and Thailand. The rest of these are Chinese provinces with the dotted lines. So you can see that a 6.3 is a big deal there, especially since we've never seen anything there before. Again, I thought it had to do with this mud volcano, but I'm afraid I was dead wrong. Let's get some information about the big boy, the 6.3. Germany came in at 6.4. The French are 5.9, all at the default depths. And USGS is the main source at 6.3 here, also at a default depth. Very strong, 6.3 magnitude earthquake 1 hour, 8 minutes ago. Right there to the right of our mud volcano. I do want y'all to stick around because I believe that these are atomic or hypersonic missiles that they're testing in the area, and I'm going to try to prove it to you. This released 2.7 atomic bombs worth of energy.
Okay, that's enough update for the earthquake. I don't normally play that channel. Sorry about that.
Well, so for the second time in 3 days, a military aircraft has crashed. One of the accidents resulted in deadly consequences. At Edwards Air Force Base today, one of the workhorses of the military being used now in the war in Iran fell out of the sky during the test mission. Everybody on board died in the crash. NBC7's Omari Fleming spoke to military experts about how investigators will look for a cause and how they are trained to deal with these devastating situations.
One pilot told me aviation can be unforgiving, and that's proven to be the case twice since Saturday, with 2 different military aircraft, sadly, in one case, meant the loss of life. This billowing black smoke seen for miles marks the spot where tragedy happened on Edwards Air Force Base. 8 people dead after Air Force officials say a B-52 Stratofortress bomber crashed and burst into flames.
Right now, our thoughts and prayers are with the families.
Air Force officials say the mixed crew of military and government contractors supporting a test mission went down shortly after takeoff around 11:20 Monday morning.
I don't want to speculate, but it's probably mechanically related.
Captain Ron Alvarado is a retired Marine Corps pilot.
It could be due to the engines, asymmetrical thrust. If they lose 2 engines on one side, it'll yaw the aircraft to the other side.
The base's emergency crews worked to extinguish the burning wreckage.
We lost 8 great Americans. This crash is deemed to be unsurvivable.
Base officials say they don't know what caused the crash. They also didn't elaborate on how high, how long, and why they deemed the wreck unsurvivable. Experts say the B-52 carries thousands of pounds of gas and up to 70,000 pounds of weapons if loaded.
If there were ordnance on board this aircraft today, it would have been more of a spectacular crash, if you will.
The deadly B-52 crash comes just 2 days after this FA-18 Hornet stationed at MCS Miramar crashed outside of Seattle, Washington.
Oh my God!
Sparking a brush fire. Fortunately, the pilot, as you see here, able to eject and was taken to the hospital.
I've been in an out-of-control jet where I almost ejected. Something worked out, kind of grace of God.
Retired Navy Commander Brian Sunshine Sinclair analyzed the video of Saturday's Hornet crashing. He says it's possible a low-level bird strike caused catastrophic engine damage, leaving the jet uncontrollable.
I'm going to hear a boom. It's going to be one potato. I'm going to grab the stick, two potato. I'm going to be looking at the gauges, my engine gauges, and moving my throttles.
The 20-year fighter pilot walked me through the 5-second decision process the pilot likely had to ghost the jet so it didn't hurt anyone while having the wherewithal to eject safely.
And in 3, if I have time, I'm going to look around the jet and kind of assess how my jet's responding to me. From there, I'm going to think, what are my options? That's 4 potato, and then eject is probably 5 potatoes.
The people on board that B-52 were unable to escape. Air Force officials say there haven't been any tragic accidents in the past 3 years, but the base's namesake, Captain Glenn Edwards, was killed during a test flight back in 1948, as was Doug Benefield back in 1984. Omari Fleming, NBC7.
An official.
Okay, that's from yesterday. 4-minute update. Trump at the G7, and then the first big 27 minutes would be Tricia at the G7. I'll play Billy after that one.
Donald Trump, actually.
Could be some tense conversations, though, in the next day and a half left at the G7. Talk about free speech. Also, we know that President Trump will not be a fan of this ban on social media for under 16s. The White House was warning about that last week, weren't they? The president is going to have a busy day today, as you can see, starting this session now with G7 leaders, where the focus is very much going to be on Ukraine. He's then got a morning of bilateral meetings with Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. You imagine they're going to be talking about Iran, and later a working lunch with G7 leaders. I was actually reading this morning that Emmanuel Macron has changed the calendar to prepare a banquet tomorrow night in the hope that he can get President Trump to stay for all 3 days of the summit. There are fears with everything going on with Iran and that signing of the peace deal on Friday that he won't stay for the full 3 days, but Emmanuel Macron is obviously hoping he will.
If you're listening on radio at the moment, I believe that's the German Chancellor there, has just handed Donald Trump a German football. It says 47, which of course is his, he's 45, 47, isn't he? President there, 45th, 47th president.
Yeah.
And sat next to Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron. They're sandwiched in between those two. And the seating arrangement is always very interesting in these things, because that in itself is political. It's a sign of who is on the side, who is the closest, who is the most powerful. And Vladimir Zelensky there too. Of course, the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screens. If you're listening on radio, quite a lot of them all in attendance there. Donald Trump looking rather cheery as he meets all of those leaders. We also wonder, Ellie, on this, as we have to, Preston having to be asked to leave the room, we do wonder if immigration will be on the table. Because Donald Trump starts to see that as a security threat.
Yeah, he certainly does. The White House have been vocal about that, haven't they? They've also been vocal about the Henry Novak case in recent weeks. There are many tense subjects that could be raised between President Trump and Sir Keir Starmer until tomorrow afternoon. So any developments on that, we will, of course, bring to you here on GB News, so do stay tuned for that.
Yeah, your thoughts?
Okay, now the 26-minute one, Tricia. Got 2 of them with her.
No, guess what, guys? We got a deal. Okay, we got a deal, and Georgia was no help at all, nor was little Pedro Sanchez over in Spain, nor were you, Emmanuel Macron. You wouldn't even let us fly over our, the airspace there in France. It's Starmer. I mean, the whole lot of these people. What good are they, right? What good are any of them? I'd like to know where Giorgia Meloni is right here as we look at the video coming in to us. And Donald Trump telling them all, guess what, guys? I did it. I did it. No thanks to you. I did it. And you are all reaping the benefits as we speak, as oil prices come down in the markets, as gas prices come down. I mean, they're crashing in the markets right now, and you're looking at basically under $4. Now we're going back to right where we were as Donald Trump first came into the Oval Office, and we were able to get rid of Joe Biden, who drove us higher for other reasons. Anyway, again, Europe's getting this wake-up call, if you would, because he's there in Evian, France, to deliver a message. Guys, you know what? I did it. Okay, you guys were no help at all, but somehow I still managed to do this. You're sitting here with all your meetings. It's like every other week they have a meeting. No, every week they have a meeting. It's like another thing coming out of the EU in France and another NATO meeting and this, that, and the other, but they never get anything done at these meetings, right? They're there to talk about trade and global imbalances, because it's just not fair that some people have more than others. Maybe they're mad at us. Maybe they're mad because it's not fair that we have so much more than them. If the UK were to join us, or if Germany were to join us, or Italy were to join us, we just heard from my friend Andy Puzder, the ambassador now to the EU from the US of A, and he said on the show last week, if any of these countries were to join us, guess what? They would be the lowest ranked per capita income in the entire country, lower than Mississippi. No offense against Mississippi. Great, great, wonderful place. But, we're just saying here, you guys, you got nothing. You got nothing because you followed a whole really bad set of rules, which we're going to dig into a little bit more. But first, I want to go to Brian Mast, who made a very good point this morning on Fox. And he was like, listen, you know what? G7, they're over there. They can't get it done. They can't get anything done. They can't get to first base. They can't. Their economies are a mess. They are a full-on mess. We're taking the rug out from under. You better believe it, faster, sooner rather than later than they had ever anticipated. And so they're over there now and they're scrambling. They're like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? Maybe we should offer some support because, Donald Trump and US of A, baby, got it done. Listen to Representative
The G7 wants to remain relevant. They want to have a seat at the table, even though they didn't have a seat in helping to destroy the very aggressive Iran that had been attacking everybody. I think the president's probably going to tell them, be a little bit more American and less European. If somebody's fighting you and attacking you, have the stones to go out there and hit back instead of run away like what you were doing. And you see this a little bit. You see Italy, I believe, has since signaled that they might send a ship or two in there to help deal with some of the minesweeping, but I haven't seen much more since then. Congratulations from Starmer. I think that would be the extent of it.
Congratulations from Starmer. He's like, wow, gosh, you guys did it. Yeah. Be a little more American. I like that idea. I used that analogy the other day, not in that you need to be more American, but that you got to fight your own fights, for goodness sakes. And they're all over there fretting about Russia. Well, okay, fine. Then you deal with it. Why do you have to come to mom and dad over here to stick up for you on the playground every single day? Enough is enough is enough. And this is what Donald Trump is conveying to them. And this is what I think finally, somehow, some way, they're getting the message on, but they want to stay relevant. So they want to look important. They've got this G7 meeting. You had Japan over there too. Back in the old days, it was G8. I remember covering G8 at CNBC back when Russia was part of it. And so now Russia's been cast aside. And I'm now looking at Italy, and I kind of feel like this woman has been cast aside. One of the reasons why she's now saying, oh, I'll do something. I'll send in the Navy. Okay, Italy's going to send in their Navy. How about that? Giorgia Meloni saying, I got to step up to the plate. I got to do something. I'm basically out. I'm out with Trump. I'm out with the EU. I'm out with NATO. And I'm out back at home because the voters are not with her. You should have seen the protests as we took a small glimpse of those. We're going to look at those in greater detail, what happened in Rome over the weekend. But don't forget, this is the lady who would not give us Sionella, our base in Sicily, okay? And we were not allowed to access it. Well, today, she's singing a different tune. L'opera lirica here. We stand ready together with our partners and without prejudice to the necessary authorization of Parliament to contribute to an international naval presence to support the full reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Georgia, finally, Georgia said back in late April that she was willing to do this, but she needed, of course, to know that there was this memorandum of understanding, etc. But anyway, she's finally following through there, sending something. The one ship that they have, I guess nobody has any ships, nobody has any equipment. By the way, she doesn't even want to, she's like having this debate right now as we speak today with some of the leaders that will take meetings with her there in Evian, France. She's saying, we need to rethink our entire strategy. You keep wanting us to get all this equipment. Maybe we should just get drones because they're a whole lot less expensive. True. You know, a $23,000 drone can do some serious damage and take out some other kinds of equipment. I'm not going to dispute her on that, but you know, look, I think she's looking for any way she can to kind of get out of paying her bills. Yeah, she's supposed to pay 5%. She's barely even coming up with 2%. Anyway, here was Georgia back in April, and she said,
L'Italia è pronta a fare la sua parte.
She said Italy's going to do its part. Italy's going to be able to assist with this once we actually have an end to this war. I should point out that not only did she say today that she would send a naval ship to help protect there and clean up the situation in the Strait of Hormuz, but she also said that she expects that there is going to be a ceasefire vis-a-vis Lebanon, in Lebanon, vis-a-vis what we see with Hamas and, of course, Israel. So she's still trying to exude some pressure. Whether or not she really has the clout to be able to do that, I don't think so. And I go back to what the president said a short time ago on Italy, and he threw Spain and a few other European countries in there, just, you know, to make sure we get it, right? Like Europe, they really don't like us. Are they jealous? Is that it?
What Europe has done with immigration, most of the countries, not all, what they've done with immigration is horrible.
Do we still have the same relationship with Italy right now and Giorgia Meloni?
No. She's been negative. Anybody that turned us down for helping with this Iran situation, we do not have the same relationship. Just so you know, Italy gets a lot of oil from the Strait. You can call it the Strait of Hormuz or the Hormuz Strait. I said, which is better? They said, either is okay, but you can call it either one. The only thing you can't call it is the Trump Strait. They don't like that idea.
So I think he made it pretty clear. You know, Georgia, we didn't appreciate that. We weren't able to use Stigonella. So now what is she doing? She's coming forward with, oh, okay, I'm going to assist with our naval forces. Mighty things that they are. Anyway, we got a lot of bases over there. Like, so if you're smart, Georgia, and given what has just happened, wait till you hear about the generale, the general that's
17
coming for her seat. I mean, she might really be out. She's got all these bases that we maintain and we support and we spend hundreds of millions of dollars on, billions of dollars on. We got like 15,000 troops over there in Italia. And you know what? They could all be coming home because she hasn't done squat. So I think she's in a bit of a CYA kind of mode right now. Georgia's got to really cover herself because
a lot of 20,
Trump doesn't like her.
25-minute ones today.
The Europeans don't really like her.
In the short.
NATO's not happy. She's not going to pay her fair share. They've even offered to give her a fancy schmancy loan with like no strings attached, and she's not willing to do it. So what's that about? And then you got, well, her own people turning against her as well. And understandably so, because she hasn't done anything that she promised. More on that in a second. Plus, did you see Gavin Newsom? Yeah, he's in the hot seat. Looks like the DOJ is coming for him. We got that story too for you. But first, a quick shout out to our good friends over at KEPM. You can learn more about investing in gold and silver. Gold's up again today. Wow. I told you I bought it the other day when it was down. I just looked for those little opportunities. You remember me. Clearance. Anyway, gold and silver. Trish loves gold and silver. Silver is a great play on the economy as well. And I love these guys over at KEPM. You've seen Dr. Kirk on the show. He's just terrific. And, you know, one of the things that I really appreciate is the because, I think for obvious reasons. But anyway, here's the problem. We couldn't get Sigonella. Now she's like, okay, we have a ship we can send. And I'm just saying, like, it's a little too late. And I think this is a serious CYA kind of move. She knows she's in trouble. I mean, listen, it's kind of fascinating. They say go woke, go broke. It's like if you go against Trump, he's just giving you some common sense kind of advice. You know, the immigration thing is out of control. And you might want to step up to the plate and help your neighbor, more than your neighbor, your ally, right? When push comes to shove. And if you don't, here's what you're seeing. So over the weekend in Rome, you had thousands of people taking to the streets, and they're protesting all of this migration that's happening. You see this happening everywhere now. I mean, we think about the protests
G7
we
wants
saw.
to remain relevant. They want to have a seat at the table.
Forgive me. Let's go back to the protests. You think about what we saw in Ireland last week. You think about what happened this weekend in Rome. and I think that it's adding up to a situation where people have been pushed to the brink. In other words, the people are fighting back. The people are saying enough is enough is enough. Yeah, they don't want them. They don't want them. And yet, what did she do? She brought them all in. So I think this is kind of important. I mean, think about how just in the last 48 hours, the world has changed. Donald Trump, he walked into that summit in France, in Evian, France, and he delivered a message. He said, listen, we got it done, okay? We got it done. He told those Europeans, we have a deal. We did it, you couldn't. He has managed to stop a war without their help. He's reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Now they're Johnny-come-lately and they want to show up at the table. But I'll just say this, all of them are going to be out. Every single last one of them, from Starmer to Macron, he's already said he's not running again, to, Merz, Fred Merz, right? Our friend from I Love Lucy, Friedrich, who's running Germany. He is the least popular German chancellor in, forever, okay, like modern times. I mean, no one likes him. So all of these people are going to be out. And it's not just because they screwed up on Iran. It's because look at the headline I'm showing you over my left shoulder. This is a Bloomberg headline. Giorgia Meloni, who campaigned on, we got to lock down the borders. She's letting 500,000 in, just like little Pedrito Sanchez. Oh, he's out too. He's out because of corruption charges. That's a pretty scary plight we're looking at there with Spain, and the reality that they might have been working alongside China. Most socialists are, apparently. Well, I look at this headline and I'm like, Georgia, you're going to get exactly what you deserve. You're the one who said, I need Italy to be Italy. We're going to put Italy first. And then you turn around, you get into office and you say 500,000 new migrants coming in, come one, come all. And this is what we need for our economy. Listen to her. Here she is saying, we need this.
L'Italia e l'Europa hanno bisogno di immigrazione. Per questo noi non possiamo continuare a dare il segnale che verrà premiato chi entra illegalmente a discapito di chi
non possiamo. We cannot continue, she says, not allowing for these people to come in. If you can't manage it because you have not figured out how to grow your economy enough to support all of that crazy social welfare, well then, tough luck. Okay, don't look at us. And by the way, I'll tell you one other thing. The people are looking to you and with this expectation, if you would, that you were going to follow through on everything you said you were going to do. Well, you're not doing any of it. So you're doing squat. And then on top of it, can you hear me now, guys? I'm seeing right now. Can you hear me now? Hopefully you can. I think you can. We had some studio issues over the weekend. So we're working on it. I think you can hear me, but if you can't, let me know. It looks like it's coming through on my end. So can you hear me? I'm going to put this in the chat. Can you hear me? Anyway, so you couldn't hear me over the clip. Thank you, Ivan Alexander. Thank you so much. Well, you got to hear the protesters, right? Or maybe Georgia in Italiano, because why not listen? Italian is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful language. So, but it would help if there's a translation. I get it. Great to see all of you. And thank you for your patience with me today. We are occasionally, I say the most extraordinary thing about being independent is that I'm independent, right? And I don't have to deal with anyone or anything and any middle management or any big management or any management. But, the downside is when the audio goes out, I got to fix it on the fly. So I'm very dependent on everything that you guys say and always try to make sure I'm reading the chats in real time so that we keep up with it. But back to, the task at hand, and that's understanding just exactly what's at stake. So Trump has said, you know what, we're going to take those bases. Now, the big meeting is just a few weeks away. It's happening in Turkey in July. And so this is kind of like a predecessor, a precursor, if you would. You get G7 happening. There's another meeting happening next week in Brussels. And so all of this is getting telegraphed to them. Guys, you better step up, okay? Like we're not slamming the door in their face. I mean, we're giving them plenty of notice. The notice, it's like they just don't want to hear it. They don't want to take it. And so at some point, you just have to say, you know what, we're going to take your boxes and your things and we're going to throw them out of the house. Okay. And then maybe you'll get the hint. Giorgia Meloni, just a few weeks ago, when Trump first said, hey, I'm going to take our troops and I'm going to run. Here's what she had to say in reaction. She didn't like that idea one single bit.
Look, I can't tell you what will happen. As I've said many times before, we know that for some time now, the United States has, shall we say, been discussing a withdrawal from Europe, which is why I believe we must strengthen our security and, let's say, develop our capacity to respond in this regard. That said, it is clearly a decision that does not depend on me, and one that I personally would not support. But there is one thing I would like to make clear. Italy has always honored its commitments. Italy has honored every commitment it has undertaken. It has always done so. We have done so particularly within NATO. We have done so even when our direct interests were not at stake. We did so in Afghanistan. We did so in Iraq. And so, let's say, I do not consider some of the things that have been said about us to be fair, not least because within the Atlantic Alliance, no one has ever appeared in a formal setting to ask the Allies' support regarding the choices they were making.
Wow. You know, she's really bitter about that. I think they all are. They didn't like that we just decided to do something. And don't forget, we've been through this before, but if we had gone to them and said, pretty please, what do you think the answer would have been? No. It would have been no. I mean, what do you think? You think she would have been, sì, certo, go for it? No. She would have said no. Macron definitely would have said no. Starmer, no. We can do all our accents. Germany, 9. Like everybody would have said no. So why on earth would we go to them? Not to mention, okay, like from a security standpoint, for goodness sakes, can you imagine if Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib had gotten into a chance to weigh in on that one? It would have been game over. We never would have gotten to first base. So sometimes you got to just take a leap of faith and trust the most important.
Pretty good one for Krishna today.
Person in the room, okay? It wouldn't be little Pedro Sanchez now, would it? Pedrito, it wouldn't be little Starmer now, would it? Wouldn't be any of these guys, okay? It is the US of A. I'm sorry, we're still the 800-pound gorilla. We pay your defense, for goodness sake. Sometimes you just got to go with what mom and dad are saying, okay? And, you know, deal. Well, they never would have said yes. They never, ever would have said yes. And so I don't think we really had a choice, not to mention, of course, what we would have dealt with the Democrats here at home. And so it is what it is. We made a choice. Well, guess what? You know, Georgia, you made the wrong one. And now there's a generale who's on your tail. This guy, 57-year-old, definitely not as pretty as her, Italian general, launching a far-right party threatening Meloni's election hopes. It's futuro nazionale. You know, when I was in Italy last summer, all I heard from everyone, especially the young people, was how appreciative they were of everything that Giorgia Meloni was doing, because they wanted a chance to really try and have a financial future for themselves. And they thought maybe she can really put Italy on the map. Maybe she can get rid of this immigration problem that we're struggling with. Has she done any of it? No, and no. So now this guy is coming out of the woodwork, Roberto Vanacci. Remember that name, Vanacci, okay? And he's a general. So he's looking at what she did. He's like, for goodness sakes, you're not even giving the U.S. the use of Stigonella? What do you want to do? Lose all of those bases, Georgia? Like, how does that make any sense? And when you couple that together with all of the protests we were seeing in Rome over the weekend, ones you couldn't hear me through, when you saw, you know, people have been furious in the streets of Rome. I'm actually going to be there this summer doing some reporting for you because I want to see it myself. Everybody says nobody's speaking Italian anymore.
How's it going, David?
You know, you're in just such a quintessential Italian place, and nobody speaks Italian because we have so many migrants that have come to this city. And so Georgia is not getting much love back at home. In fact, her last memorandum, she was trying to get more power over the justices in the court system, and it was flat out refused by a 54% margin. So what did she start doing? Hating on Trump. Mm-hmm. It's like that's what everybody does when they feel, you know, and it's actually the wrong thing to do because he's got good instincts and he kind of gets a feel for sort of, I think, where the people are while simultaneously having that dose of common sense. And that's what she had going for her. And now she doesn't. So now she's taking on Trump and she's like, you know, criticizing him vis-a-vis what the Pope had said. Remember when the Pope was all upset about the war and he came out criticizing Donald Trump and then she joined along. Coupled with you can't have your bases. Well, let me just tell you, Giorgia Meloni, I think it's over. I actually think, and this is scary, guys, because the last thing we need is the left rising up. And this Futuro Nazionale is going to now become a sort of thorn in Georgia's side because she was the conservative. I mean, they saw her as far right. And then suddenly she went, whoa, straight to the center and then a little bit to the left. That's the problem, right? She's not true to who she was or who she campaigned on being. And this is where Donald Trump has them in spades because he's like, okay, promises made, promises kept. And that's what people expect from their leaders. So promises made, promises kept. What did the president of the United States tell us all last week, guys? What did he say on oil prices? He said they were going to be coming down. They'd be coming down very, very fast. I played the clip twice for you last week, so we won't listen to it again. But he said, I promise you, they're coming down. And what did we see this morning? Do you know how much it must have killed ABC News to report this? I can just see. I'm sure the anchor was looking at the script. Probably not ahead of time because they often just read them on the fly. But she probably saw this script delivered to her and thought, oh, gosh, I mean, Donald Trump, right again. Take it away. Robin Roberts on ABC's Good Morning America.
Nationwide average for gas has dipped below $4 a gallon as road trip season heats up. Elizabeth Schulze is at a gas station in Washington, D.C. Good morning to you, Elizabeth.
Good morning to you, Robin. Oil prices are sharply lower this morning on news of that deal to reopen shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. And already we are seeing some relief here at the gas pump. The national average for a gallon of regular gas, now $3.99. It's the first time it's been below $4 since April. In about half of all states, mostly in the South and in the Midwest, gas is already below that $4 marker. So for perspective, the cost to fill up a mid-sized SUV like a Toyota Highlander, on average now $72. 1 month ago, it was $81, but before the war, it was $53. So we are still above that pre-war level. We have seen the U.S. and other countries dip into their oil stockpiles to try to alleviate prices. And the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve is actually now on track to reach its lowest level since 1983. It will take months to replenish those reserves. So the key for gas prices from here is how quickly we actually start to see tankers moving through the strait. If there are no clear signs that that oil is coming back onto the market, we could still see gas prices go up again this summer. Mike.
Okay, but it's coming back, okay? And so it's going to take a few weeks. It's not perfect. It doesn't happen exactly the next day. Not quite like the oil markets. Like when I'm looking at the oil markets right now and you get the regular stock market actually getting ready to close the day. What an incredible day, by the way. Just an incredible, incredible, incredible day.
Yes, first one with Trisha. That's a good one today. 12 minutes on the first Billy Bean. Oh.
Little ones can feel overwhelming. Progressive created a payment.
Welcome to Truth by Billy Bean. Today's date, June 16, 2026. Time in Texas, about 7 a.m. So I'll give you a flash update. We'll begin with what's going on in the tropics. So we have from the National Hurricane Center, this area we have noted yesterday a new tropical storm area. So today, the National Hurricane Center upgrades development in 48 hours to 60% and also puts out that the National Hurricane Center late today on Tuesday could be putting out thunderstorm warnings. This will be thunderstorm Arthur And apparently, the National Hurricane Center believes today, Tuesday, it's going to develop into a tropical storm and bring much rain to Texas, and then is predicted to move down the U.S. coast to impact Louisiana and Mississippi. So that's going on. Late yesterday, we had information coming out about a U.S. B-52 strategic bomber being vaporized over California. We have some more details today. And we say rest in peace, 8. We do know that on the B-52, now this is what the U.S. military is putting out. At Edwards Air Force Base in California, I think it's about 100 miles from Los Angeles, that the B-52 took off and then crash landed a few feet from where it took off on Edwards Air Force Base.
So at the beginning, we did a couple updates, breaking from yesterday. Last night, Trump had a plot against him again, and that was number 12 attempt. And then we did updates on crashes and everything, and we'll be doing 20, 25-minute ones. No more than 45-minute ones today, so we'll try to get them all. Mel will probably be till, I don't know, she's not coming out yet. First Billy is 12 minutes.
But clearly, pictures of the B-52, there's nothing left of it except a dark smudge on the ground. Clearly, the B-52 vaporized. This is no crash, no explosion, no fire. Vaporized. So, we don't know what caused that. We can report there were 8 people on board, including the crew, some U.S. government employees, and some U.S. Military contractors. We don't have identities yet. So that's going on. And Edwards Air Force Base is also closed today. They shut the whole base down. As soon as the plane event occurred, Edwards Air Force Base went on lockdown. After that, they basically closed down the base, and the person giving the news update yesterday said Edwards Air Force Base today, Tuesday, would be closed all day. So that's going on. Yeah. And we have this. And the B-52 is said to be on a training mission. We have this from New York Prepper talking about the B-52 crash on Edwards. Yep. That occurred. And then yesterday, New York Prepper's good at telling us what's up in the air. After the B-52 vaporized in California, the U.S. military had up over the U.S. 2 nuke sniffers, a doomsday plane that moved from Offutt to Washington, D.C., and we had other surveillance planes up. We know that President Trump is currently in Europe, Geneva, Switzerland, near Geneva, Switzerland, for the G7 meeting that'll last Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now, on Wednesday, President Trump is flying from Europe back to the U.S. Then on either late Thursday or early Friday, Vice President J.D. Vance will be flying to Geneva, Switzerland, to meet with the Iran's government representative Ghalibaf to sign the memorandum of understanding between the U.S. and Iran. Some people were trying to place
minutes.
both President Trump and J.D. Vance, Vice President, in Europe at the same location at the same time, which, of course, would violate the U.S.'s general pattern of having the president and the vice president in separate locations at all times, if they're outside the U.S. So that's going on. Now we have this, so it's good that the U.S. and Iran are coming to an agreement, because there's another big indicator in the U.S. regarding the U.S. oil industry. It's called the Cushing Index, and this is information about Cushing, Oklahoma, where the majority of U.S. pipelines come together in a hub, and then the pipelines are routed out to various refineries. If the Cushing hub shuts down, then there's no gasoline, diesel, and so on being refined in the U.S. So the Cushing Index has been predicted to collapse June 22, when it's said the flow of oil will stop from Cushing to the refineries unless we get more oil in. So we believe that's going to happen. It's simply an indicator. We have this from 2CTV yesterday. We saw, beginning Sunday, the hardliners in Iran giving directions to their proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon to hit Israel. Then Israel hit Hezbollah. Then Iran said they were going to hit Israel. So apparently the U.S. was able to intervene and stop Iran from hitting Israel. And then I know there had been talks between the U.S. and Israel. And then, that was Sunday. Monday, we had the hardliners and Iran once again telling the Hezbollah to hit Israel, because the hardliners in Iran don't want a deal. They are extremists. So that's going on. So there were 2CTV reports yesterday and the day before, mysterious fires and explosions in Tehran, possibly believed to be the People's Resistance or some intergovernment groups fighting against one another. So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah. And Iran insists that Lebanon is part of the deal to be signed between the U.S. and Iran.
Bet you can't run as fast as T-Mobile. Bet you I can. Well, you better pick it up, because T-Mobile now has the fastest 5G home internet. Watch this. I'm okay.
The U.S. says Lebanon is not part of the deal. So that's going on.
Someone said that.
And we have this.
I don't know.
We had also yesterday the IRGC say they had made no deal with the U.S. But of course, it isn't the IRGC apparently who's making the deal with the U.S., but the government of Iran. So that's going on. And we have information that the IRGC is split in the middle. And one part controls missiles and proxies, and the other part apparently is siding with the Iran government to bring about a peace deal. So that's going on. We have this from Duran, that in the UK,
everybody loves Billy.
It's believed the deep state embedded in the UK And as I've put forth, the financial center of the deep state is located in the city of London. The Labour Party, representing the deep state, is going out of power, but it will still continue in power apparently for a few months until there's another round of elections. Keir Starmer, the current prime minister, representing the deep state Labour Party, is losing power. And it's believed that John Healey, who just resigned as the head of the Ministry of Defense, will then be running to be prime minister. So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah, so I've explained the difference between the timing of President Trump and Vice President Vance in Geneva. So this concludes my flash. I would say an area to be concerned about and to question is the B-52 vaporizing in California. What could cause that? How did that happen? And does it present a defense question for the U.S.? I love you, and I'll see you soon.
So, Devin, I don't know about a long time ago. Did you remember what I was saying out of Colorado? My friend I grew up with high school, that she has a radio broadcast there. Her name is Denise Nelson. I went to school with her. I got a 6-minute one I'm going to play. I normally play from the Colorado lady. But I got the second video on plot from last night. This is the second video.
My name is Josh Breslow, and I do want to get some breaking news that we have been following here throughout the week. Now, this information really just coming in. The FBI Director Kash Patel saying that on June 10th, FBI and our law enforcement partners became aware of a potential threat to the UFC America 250 event in Washington, D.C., involving individuals outside of the National Capital Region. And thanks to the rapid action of the FBI, our partners, and the DOJ in a multi-state operation, several individuals are now in custody, and allegedly planned attacks were stopped cold. While the result represented the best of investigative work, it was also nothing out of the ordinary for this law enforcement team. We are built to detect, respond to, and bring to justice those who threaten the lives of American citizens, particularly during large gatherings like the historic UFC 250 fight. That's exactly what we did here. I want to thank our great agents and partners. This work remains ongoing, and we will continue to update the public as permitted. We continue to encourage any American to report anything suspicious at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Now, you can see the actual post itself from Fox News that he quote tweeted there. That is over on the left-hand side of your screen. It says, FBI disrupts alleged explosive drone plot targeting White House UFC event. And again, that is coming from investigators as all of this is coming in. Now, the U.S. Secret Service also putting out a statement saying our most important responsibility is safeguarding the president and every person under Secret Service protection. The U.S. Secret Service worked closely with the FBI throughout the investigation. In the days leading up to this weekend, our special agents, mission support personnel, and technical security teams worked around the clock to identify those responsible and hold them accountable. Equally important to our protective mission is ensuring accountability through the justice system. To that end, our formal comments regarding the specifics of this case will be made through filings. Now, law enforcement officials saying they disrupted the, quote, planned attacks meant to target the UFC cage fighting show that was at the White House this past weekend. Several people there in custody, according to the FBI. Right now, I do want to bring in a friend of the show here. We have Rich Kolko. He is a retired FBI special agent joining us live to discuss all of this. Rich, as always here, we appreciate you joining us to provide your insight and a little bit more information. Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here, Josh.
And first off, I just want to ask you, as all of this has been coming out here and we gather kind of bits and pieces of information, what has stood out to you overall about all of this?
Well, I've been looking around and talking to some folks that I'm able to talk to right now, and I guess what stands out is how real this one may have been. There's always that question of, is it aspirational or operational? And this one hasn't fully been determined yet, but the fact that somebody was traveling from another part of the country to the Washington, D.C. area, that's what's called an overt act, so that at least starts to get into what's called operational. I heard you just read that Secret Service tweet. I think that could have been beefed up a little bit more, because I know they were a joint partner in this, working very closely with the FBI. There are a lot of people involved in this with a very dramatic plan. Their capability or ability to actually carry it out to their full extent would have been very limited based on the security efforts of Secret Service and law enforcement in the vicinity of the White House. But I can tell you that over the last few years, drones has become a real problem for law enforcement and security personnel, very unpredictable and difficult to defend. So it's certainly a problem, but they literally had a 3-step plan here. And it was to attack the crowd with a drone with an explosive device. Wouldn't have had to be big if you think about it, but if that had just gone off, it would have resulted in some sort of panic and people running for the doors. And they planned on some sort of sniper team when people were running outside of the facility, and then they wanted to charge into the White House. So, this 3-step plan that they supposedly carried out, discussed, talked about, and maybe planned, and we'll have to find out if there's any reality to what they could have or were trying to do.
How important is it for this information here to be released to the public? Because, again, a lot of different actions there, arrests, things of that nature, happen behind closed doors. You may get a little information here and there. But, again, FBI Director Kash Patel came out this morning. The Secret Service came out. They said, this is what happened. This is what we know. More information will come from court filings. Why is it important for the public to be aware that this happened?
Well, first of all, we'll find out. But I think the court documents will be unsealed today at 11 o'clock. So in a couple hours, we'll have some more, specific information if that does happen today. And on top of that, it sounds like law enforcement was tipped off by one of the parents of one of the people involved in this. Don't have any names yet of who was arrested. 5 people supposedly have already been arrested, looking for others. I think the reason it's important for people to know is if this had actually happened, it would have been disastrous for the United States, regardless of what your political leanings are. This political violence is a no-go for any party, any issue, any time. So it doesn't work and can just destroy the country. So as far as people knowing what happened or what could have happened, the fact that somebody was willing to pick up the phone and call law enforcement and provide that critical tip, that's what's important that the public knows, in addition to whatever the plans or operations were. Because there's always somebody who has some information, and that can help save lives and goes a long way. Very, very important.
And of course, we went over those statements, but if you are just joining us, I want to go over some of the basics of what we know and the questions that still exist here. So the FBI and law enforcement partners say they disrupted an alleged plot targeting this weekend's UFC Freedom 250 event. That was, of course, on President Trump's 80th birthday, and it was right there on the grounds of the White House. We have learned that 5 people are in custody at least, and investigators identified 23 people as part of a potential network of people involved in this. The alleged plan involved using explosive-laden drones to hit buildings that are near the event, force a mass evacuation, and steer crowds toward a pre-staged sniper team. Again, all of this coming in from investigators that spoke with Fox News Digital and the Associated Press. Now, we're also told that a, quote, second wave was then allegedly planned to storm the White House gates. So you were going over some of the details there. And the FBI said they first learned of that threat June 10th and worked with partners to secure probable cause for an arrest in Cincinnati, where at least one of those suspects was taken into custody. So again, a lot of this here essentially coming in this morning in those bits and pieces. What questions overall would you say that you still have?
Right away, I want to know if they actually had the equipment. Did they have the drones? Did they have the explosives? Do they have the rifles or handguns that they plan to carry out their sniper attacks or attack on the White House? What kind of information would they have downloaded on the computer? What kind of, just, how real were their plans? They were talking on Signal, it appears. So preservation warrants will go out to save that data if they can. Signal, as you know, is encrypted, so we'll have to see if they get that information. But did they download, maps, charts? What other calls were made? Were people actually meeting? As far as an investigator is concerned, the pot of information you want to find is enormous, and you can be sure that there are a good amount of agents, analysts, and professional support from multiple agencies digging into that while you and I are speaking right now.
And you talked about a family member being involved. How pivotal, how important is the public here when you look at this as a whole and you work to stop, to thwart a plan that could lead to multiple casualties at a huge event like this over at the White House?
It's really the only way law enforcement works these days is partnerships and assistance from the public. I mean, you think about it, the FBI is, 13,000 FBI agents total. And that counts management and people that work in the lab and on the gun range and all that. So the people on the street, it's a lot less. So what really helps and counts is the support provided by the public, by sources, by people that have information or thoughts that some of this may have happened or could happen. I mean, we've talked about school shootings in the past or active shooters. Every time I've seen an active shooter situation, when they go back and do the interviews and talk to the neighbors or talk to the family, there's always somebody said, I think they were going to do something. I knew something was up. Why didn't you pick up the phone and call law enforcement? They didn't. Okay, and that's part of the problem. But if you have that information, have that thought, even if you're not sure, law enforcement is not going to mind the call, and perhaps you can stop something like this from happening.
How does it work with law enforcement kind of combing through, and not necessarily in this situation, more speaking generally, when you're talking about a potential terror attack, an attack of some kind, how important is...
The next 3 will be 5 minutes, the next 3.
social media? How does law enforcement go about kind of combing that through and maybe pulling out, this is a threat, we need to find out more and investigate?
Well, that runs the gamut. The keyboard warriors are out there. People are sitting in their homes or in their basements typing on the keyboard thinking it's anonymous or innocuous and nobody's going to care. Certainly law enforcement does care. One more step is, do they have the ability, capability, actual devices to carry out some of the threats that they might make, or are they just venting some political dissatisfaction that they have? But when it comes to the president and other folks like that, even just a keyboard warrior statement is going to result in a knock on the door from Secret Service or FBI or another law enforcement to see what you're up to. So social media these days there's not a case that I can think of where there's not some version of social media. I don't care if it's a fight in the back of the high school. Somebody's going to post video of that. There's always some digital footprint to literally every event these days.
And that actually leads me to another point here, because how have these investigations been able to change when you look at the fact that you do have those cell phones? I mean, if you look at it, 30 years ago, the cell phones weren't there. People were not able to get that video. How has that kind of changed everything when it comes to an investigative perspective and operation?
Well, when you find that video or you find that photograph, it's nirvana for the investigators. It's very helpful. It isn't always the only thing that'll seal a case, but it's certainly very helpful. It doesn't mean it's easy. I worked the Olympic bombing back in 1996 in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's predates the digital photograph. So that was actually, you took your film to the store and got it developed and you got the pictures. And we asked people to send in their pictures. By the time that case was done, we had more than 1 million photographs. And that's not talking about videos. We literally had 1 million pictures. That's a lot of pictures to go through and keep track of, and who took them and what date and where were they. So it adds complexity to it as well. As a matter of fact, several recent cases like the Boston Marathon. When that happened, the Boston Marathon bombing, the FBI put up a website and said, please send in your videos and photos. The website was overwhelmed in minutes with so much information coming in. So they've gotten better, much better at that, at the capability of taking in that information. But it can be overwhelming as well for investigators. But having that video, being able to track somebody moving through town, track vehicles, ID people, facial recognition, all very, very important these days. Digital footprints, when you move around with your cell phone, obviously it's pinging on towers. There's cell phone teams that can track where these phones went. You can't avoid it. You know, people say, I'm going to live my life off the grid. It's not possible. You go into a convenience store to buy a soda, you know, you're going to end up on a video. It's just, you can't hide out. And law enforcement's always looking for that information to help them put that together. And they're going to track these people. If there's some association from Cincinnati, one of the people here at least, and then if somebody moved to Fredericksburg, Virginia, in preparation for this case, the FBI will track every single thing, every camera off, every highway, every gas station they could have stopped at, every food location they could have stopped and gotten a meal at, fast food location, everything. They'll want to track that, put that together, and build that timeline of every person, everybody they talk to, the cell phones. You know, it's just it's complex, but you know what? AI is probably helping with a lot of that these days. So maybe the worst days are over as far as sorting through all this information, as AI jumps into these investigations and makes it a little easier for investigators to get through some of this information.
Also wanted to ask you my final question here. When we talk about misinformation and disinformation that comes in, you can get thousands upon thousands of tips that come into the FBI and other agencies, maybe specifically about one potential crime. But how does that misinformation, disinformation that shows up on social media impact an investigation and what the public thinks?
Well, we've got a team in West Virginia, actually is where they are. When you see that phone number, the call 1-800-call-FBI. Those phone calls and email tips and social media tips go into a facility there. And there are people that work intake, and they write down the information, they gather that information. And then there's a team of seasoned investigators behind them that can look those over and just based on their experience, they can triage those tips. They can try and determine which ones are most important or need to rise to the top of the heap there and get addressed immediately. All the tips are looked at. Nothing just gets thrown away anymore. But there are people that can help resolve which ones need to be looked at immediately.
All right, Rich Coco, thank you so much for taking the time to.
Okay, that was the last night. That was a big video to get out. Next 4 videos will be 5 minutes. 6. I believe this is a new one, I think.
American Bar trade union, and the fact that we are targeting specifically in-house counsels and American Bar members specifically. And I want to explain something. See, right now they're scrambling, and these are the attorneys and whoever, right, the bar members. They're scrambling because someone has figured out that the weakest point of the entire system is the actual American Bar Association. So these clowns went out and they got it put in all the state statutes that if you're going to get elected, you got to be a bar member. If you're going to be in-house counsel, you got to be a bar member. Well, just because you're elected to like a judge position doesn't mean that your membership and your behavior at the American Bar Association can't be attacked when you act inappropriate. So we don't have to We're not supposed to go after the position of Judge so-and-so. We go after the individual so-and-so in the capacity of an American Bar Association member. So when you're acting as in-house counsel, we're not going after you as county attorney. We're going after you as the American Bar Association member. And that's your weakness. And here's where the real problem comes from. You idiots went out and made it so that in your civil rules of procedure and in all your rules, no attorney can be held for surety, giving you immunity. Which means that if you're in a lawyer status, as you like to interchange the word lawyer and attorney, right? Because you don't have lawyers, you have attorneys. Because International Bar Association members are lawyers. But when they're in your system, you have to look at them as an attorney. Okay? Then you can't hold them for surety. Your immunity is our protection. We did that to yourself. And here's the other problem. The reason that you can't say anything when I tell you that we are going to target these members for their behavior, for political espionage and waging war against the American people and international war crimes and stuff like that. The reason you're not going to say anything and the reason you're not going to do anything, and this is the best part of it, is because if you make a comment, if you try to issue an order, if you try to do anything, number one, if you're a federal judge, you got to get it through the War Department as of September of 2024. They have to sign off on all your FISA warrants. Damn, that sucks. But number two, if you initiate an action, you will be speaking on behalf of the entire social civil trade union organization of the American Bar Association against the International Bar Association and a member of the International Bar Association's War Crimes Committee. So yeah, we're going to target you for your behavior. You'll get due process, but you're probably going to belly up. The bar's not going to protect you because they are not about to put the entire organization on the line for you. And you're going to be abandoned. And it's going to be like a modern art masterpiece. And all the people that backed you, all the people that sought your legal counsel, all the people that were like, no, check with legal. Check with the county attorney. Blah, blah, blah. Are going to be left holding the bag. Because if you want to take out an adversary, the first thing you do is find their strongest and most vigilant warrior and remove them from the equation. The rest of the house comes crumbling down. God bless. Godspeed. See you soon.
Okay, that's the latest on Robert there. I got an update on, I think I should play this one next. 7 minutes on the plane. I'll tell the guy's name here in a minute.
To predict the future is a hazardous occupation. The only thing we can be sure of is that it will be absolute.
So reports yesterday came out.
Shout out to Graham Allen, his name is. I don't know how good. I think it looks like he's a good follower to follow. But he's discussing about the plane from yesterday. 6 minutes, and then I got the other 5.
We saw videos like this pop up. This was footage from near the scene where a B-52 bomber was. Reports were coming out that it had crashed. All right, so let's go ahead and let's jump right to it. Fox News comes out And then they confirmed this, and so we'll play that video. This is the flames. Like somebody just took a cell phone footage here, but we actually have reports from Fox News. Let's go ahead and do this. Yeah, let's play it.
I want to take you out to California, Edwards Air Force Base in Kern County, California. That base has put out the following alert, and it reads like this. A United States Air Force B-52 Stratofortress, it's a huge plane, crashed shortly after takeoff on the Edwards Airfield, 11:20 a.m. We assume that to be Pacific time, which would have been just about an hour ago. The statement continues, emergency crews immediately responded to the scene. Situation's ongoing. More information will be provided as it becomes available. So you can see there that charred runway, that tarmac in Kern County, California. What we don't know is how many people might have been on board, crew members, passengers. We don't have an idea just yet. No word on the pilots, whether they're able to get out or not.
Right, pause. So obviously that was yesterday. This morning, here is a further report, and let's play this. And unfortunately, it is tragedy. Let's play this report here.
The search for answers is underway in the Mojave Desert after the 70-year-old aircraft went down during a test flight just after takeoff at Edwards Air Force Base. Now take a look. This footage shows the smoldering wreckage of the B-52. Officials say the plane was an initial takeoff supporting the military's radar modernization program. The names of the 8 people killed have not yet been released, but the victims are said to be a mix of military officials, government civilians, and government contractors.
At this point, we don't have any indication as to what the cause was of this. We won't be able to release that information, and we don't have an ability to get that anytime soon. Right now, we're going to stand up an interim safety board to do the initial gathering of the facts, and that will then lead to a safety investigation board, which will look into those root causes.
Only 2 recent B-52 crashes have been recorded, both of them in Guam. One in 2008 killed 6 crew members, another in 2016 killed 8.
How's that one, Paul?
Retired Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb about what may have gone wrong in this incident. Listen.
Something could have failed. They could have lost power. There could be bad fuel. It's really too early to tell for sure. And it's going to take time, especially with this.
Let's pause it. Our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, had this to say. May God shepherd the souls of those incredible Americans and watch over their families. So before, I see a lot of people in the comment section saying, why in the world were they flying this old plane, blah, 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 blah. Before we talk about that, I think let's take a moment of silence for the families of these people that lost their lives, because it is confirmed that in this news release down here confirms that the plane crash was unsurvivable. So all crew members lost their lives, whether it be the pilots, as they said, a mix of government employees.
I hope this one helps describe. Someone was saying how the plane vanished, so there was a rumor about that.
And contractors. Let's take a moment of silence and let's just get some prayers in the chat for these people that lost their lives. Okay. All right. Why would they be flying 70-year-old B-52 bombers? And we can get off of this for a second now. We'll go here. I think it's kind of obvious. I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure that it will come out.
I think I'm going to start following this guy. He knows a lot. This might be a good channel to follow, but I don't know if Kay's working or not, but Flying Eagle's working to put his channel on the chat. Drop the link.
I think they were probably getting ready to do some type of show for the 250th anniversary. We know that they have plans for July 4th, our 250th anniversary, to kind of take us through the generations of our military and all this other kind of stuff. I wouldn't be shocked if that was part of it. So they were probably getting this thing out because it was probably going to be in the air to show advances in our, government technology, or our government technology, our military, all of that stuff. And so I think that that's probably going to come out why this 70-year-old aircraft was in the air. Again, I don't know that to be certain, but either way, it's a tragedy. And people will be like, oh, it's a senseless tragedy. Well, yes, 100%. It's a tragedy. I don't know if it's senseless. We do have the 250th anniversary of our country coming up. I can see why. I can see why they were getting this plane out. Anyway, let's get some. Can we just in the chat for these service members? Because yes, they were military, but they're also government officials in there as well. Can we get some American flags blowing up in the chat and just pray for these families? I mean, it is gut wrenching for sure.
Rest doesn't hold you back. It powers your rise to the top.
That was it. Yeah, Kate was lurking. She's going to put the channel link in the chat. So you can go follow him. Well, hold on a second. Okay, going on to the next one. That was an important one there. Let's play R&R, 6 minutes.
Model. A pole shift or a solar nova could be caused by a large planetary object passing by the Earth close enough to trigger a destructive effect. Theories include large comets, an unknown planet in our solar system, or a binary sun. While pop culture is religiously sold on the heliocentric model, empirical evidence and quantitative data say otherwise. Many respected scientists acknowledge that based on observations, you cannot disprove the geocentric model. Based on direct observation, the Earth does appear to be a flat, motionless plane. When America's sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce, predicted a pole shift, he stated that Polaris will be replaced by Vega as the North Star.
Thanks, Kay.
The night sky can be photographed by anyone tonight to show that Polaris never moves while the stars move around it. According to the heliocentric model, the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting the sun at 67,000 miles per hour, and around the galaxy at 500,000 miles per hour. And yet, it appears as if there is a fixed vertical axis running through the Earth, rooted below the North Pole, around which the entire celestial dome rotates. The official explanation is that these three astronomical spins all miraculously cancel each other out perfectly from our vantage point by coincidence to produce the appearance of a fixed axis. The ancient world believed in a geocentric Earth, and they all describe the same fundamental mechanics. In Buddhist cosmology, it is Mount Meru. The Norse called it Yggdrasil, the world ash. The Mayan called it the ceiba tree. The Chinese saw it as a cosmic mulberry tree. Tibetan tradition holds that Shambhala is a hidden realm within the earth and emits a strange inner light. In esoteric tradition, this inner realm is connected to the black sun, a source of energy that affects the sun in our sky. Nearly every ancient tradition observed that the sky rotates around a fixed axis rooted beneath the North Pole, which is exactly how it appears. The ancients also shared a remarkable, consistent story of a cyclic cataclysm that occurs on Earth, involving the sun in the sky and the black sun. The Norse say that the sun disappears and the axis fails, which causes mountains to fall and seas to rise before a new sun rises and the cycle begins again. The orbital track re-established and the axis mundi restored. The Aztecs described the history of the world as a series of failed suns, each age ending with a disruption of the sun's relationship with the cosmic order, a conflict between the gods of the underworld and the gods of the sky. The sun is a sustained act of divine sacrifice that must be continuously maintained, and when that maintenance fails, the sun fails, and the age ends. The Hindu Vishnu Purana describes 7 suns appearing in the sky, scorching the earth, burning the oceans, and consuming everything before the waters return and life on earth is born again. Mount Meru, the axis mundi, is the one structure that survives, and the orbital system around it is reset. The Egyptian tradition tells us that Ra, the sun god who travels his fixed circuit across the sky each day, begins to age. As Ra weakens, the order of his circuit weakens with him. The solution is renewal. Ra must be restored to his full power, so his circuit resumes its proper track. In every tradition, the same structure, a sun locked in a fixed track, maintained by a relationship with a central power. Modern physics may have a name for that relationship. The Meissner effect is when a material becomes superconducting and expels magnetic fields from its interior. This creates a repulsion and allows for levitation. In a Type II superconductor, magnetic field lines, called fluxoids, can be locked into place so that it doesn't just float, it is locked in a specific position and orientation relative to the magnetic field. If the boundary of a geocentric Earth is frozen miles deep under enough pressure to become superconducting, and if the central source of the Earth were electromagnetic, then what we call low Earth orbit might best be described as quantum locking, and could be the mechanics that keep the sun and moon locked in their tracks and levitating until the destructive end of their cycle. Greg Reese reporting.
Okay, that's latest on the R&R. I got that one guy on Telegram that was new. We played. It's 2 minutes, and I got Kennedy 5 minutes. Then I got a 7-minute one.
And why do we celebrate
This guy's
it?
good.
Let's dive into Black's Law, 4th edition. Let's roll.
Independence. The state or condition of being free from dependence, subjection, or control. Political independence is the attribute of a nation or state which is entirely autonomous and not subject to the government, control, or dictation of any exterior power.
We the people are free from government dependence, government subjection, and government control, period. So independence means not subject to government control. You see that?
Independence, not subject to the government, control, or dictation of any exterior power.
So we the people are 100% free from government dependence, government subjection, and government control. So every American is free and independent, not subject to government control or exterior power. So in honor of 1776, why the hell are you subjecting yourself to government control? Your life, your liberty, your property, and your pursuit of happiness has been accepted out of the powers of government forever. So who's ready to shut the machine down? So we're getting ready to celebrate 250 years of independence. Who's ready to celebrate real independence? American independence.
Oh, that was good. That was a good one. Hey, 6 minutes.
Government, federal government spends $25 million to study whether a man can breastfeed. Or the federal government spends $50 million to try to teach a neighborhood squirrel to code. And I think, how did that stuff get in there? I sit on the appropriations committee. We're supposed to put together a budget. Sometimes we do. This year we probably won't, because my friend and colleague, Senator Schumer, wants to shut down the government to create chaos, to try to get the Graham-Plattner wing of his party to love him. But I digress. That stuff's not in the budget when we vote on the budget. Where's it come from?
Well, Senator, I appreciate the question, and you've been a champion on these issues, and I would note your work on the rescissions process, highlighting some of these outrageous spending we've seen in the past. So I think this is why our updates to 2 CFR, which governs grant making across the federal enterprise, is so critical.
Yeah, tell the American people what that is.
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity.
Like you're talking to a 10th grader.
Appreciate the opportunity to. So fundamentally, some of the most important things are to ensure that grants are not going to divisive DEI ideologies. They're not going to support illegal immigration. They're not going to support radical gender ideologies. Those are pretty fundamental.
And stupid stuff, right?
And stupid stuff generally, yes, sir. I think the arbiter of ensuring that things do not go to stupid stuff, as you put it, is ultimately a political appointee. One of the president's people that is associated with the administration appointed by the president comes in and does a final issuance review before grant dollars go out. That's fundamentally about accountability. It's not intended to usurp peer review or anything like that. It's about making sure that
Let me stop you for a second, Mr. Duncan, because we're going to run out of time. Congress never sees this kind of spending porn, does it, until after the fact. Is that correct?
Senator, that's correct.
It's not in our budget. Is that correct?
Senator, that is correct.
But somebody in the administrative state decides that they ought to spend $25 million to study whether a man can breastfeed. Right?
Yes, sir.
Now, that's what I mean by stupid stuff. Do you consider that stupid stuff?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
And what you're going to do at OMB is try to stop the stupid stuff. Try to find out who made that grant and say, no. We're not going to spend money on this. And by the way, if you do it again, you're fired. Is that right? That's what you guys are going to do?
Yes, sir.
It's about time. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, let me ask you one other question. When moms and dads lie down to sleep at night and can't, right now, at this point in time, what's the first thing they're worried about?
I would imagine it would be the ability to support their families.
Yes. Cost of living. Part of that's inflation. Look, I remember inflation's very sticky. I remember when it started, it got up 9%. President Trump didn't father this child, but he's got to raise it. Cost of living. Thank you for being straightforward. Now, have you ever gone to let me preface this by saying, I've got two doctors, brothers who are doctors, so I love healthcare providers. But have you ever gone to a healthcare provider and then you get a bill saying you owe us $1,400? And you go, what the hell? Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, sir, it actually has.
It's happened to a lot of Americans because the way many of our hospital or healthcare providers bill makes no sense. And so they turn it over to a collection agency, and the collection agency says, look, you pay this $1,400. We can't explain, we won't explain to you how it got here. If we did, we'd have to drown you in the Pacific. But if you don't pay it, we're going to turn it into the credit rating agencies and ruin your credit. Now, why don't, if we want to help the American people, why don't we, at least for a period of time, say healthcare debt is not going to be reported to the rating agencies? It's not. We're not saying you don't have to pay it. We're not saying it's not due. We're not saying you can't be sued. But this debt's being reported to rating agencies when people can't pay it, and then their credit gets ruined, and it makes it even harder for them to live. That's a swell idea, isn't it?
Senator, I think the administration has been very committed to price transparency and ensuring that.
Yeah, but what about that idea?
I'm happy to take that back and determine the administration's position on that matter.
How about it advocating for it?
I'm happy to work with you on this matter. Absolutely.
All right, that was
Mr.
something
Fife
else.
is how you say your name.
Another attack. Yep, Lucy. Keeps going. Hey, what do we got next? Sure. This guy, 8 minutes. Did anybody see this from the other day? This is part 2. Shout out to this guy's channel about the tunnel with the kids.
One Muncie girls hopped on these rocks like some sort of Munslandian hopscotch. I don't know.
You go.
I'm just gonna describe what I'm feeling over here. The energy is a little off, all right? I'm still trying to map out how the hell 71 Muncie girls, Munslandian to be exact,
to get out.
made it up here. They wear long skirts, they move Munslandian like. I don't see them climbing up here and going here to explore. What type of Munslandian exploration was taking place? I'm trying to figure it out. It smells like shit. A lot of dookie water, a lot of nasty Munslandian. It's not smelling good. How did y'all not smell this and turn back around? I don't know. Let's figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, 71 of y'all, let's keep adding that up. 71. I did the 50.
This guy's a new one, so shout out to him. He did a good job reporting this. He's doing a good job.
7th one turned back around. Why didn't that happen? I'm trying to understand how all 71 of y'all went here.
You go.
You know what I'm saying? Come on now. Miller News, he gonna figure it out. I want to take the same Munslandian steps y'all did and figure out what the fuck y'all was thinking. Let's go. 71 Munslandian Muncie girls all came here and climbed that with an active waterfall of dookie water to get into the sewer system. I'm trying to understand what type of field trip this was. Like, please, 71 Muncie girls did not see a danger sign. What about the no trespassing? Is it because it's not written in Munslandian hieroglyphics? I don't care if you're a fucking 2-year-old baby. This shit looks scary as hell. This don't look like no Mudslandian exploration field trip that any parent would sign the permission slip for. How 71 of y'all all got y'all permission slip signed. I know I'm not a Mudslandian girl, and there's definitely not 71 of me, but I want to turn around right now. But in the name of Mudslandian journalism, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. This is the part I don't get. Because the only way you can get over there is like, if you walk in the dookie water, everybody played the game, don't touch the lava. This just like that. Don't touch the dookie water. So they must have had to jump on this rock right here. That's just no easy task. Like I say, they wear long Mudslandian skirts. I'm just trying to map out the scenario, put it together. 71. Let's just think about it. 71. Why the fuck would you want to be in here? Why? It's stinking here.
And we got 3 minutes. This is 6 minutes, so nobody knew. But yeah, definitely what you're saying, Andy.
It's scary in here. It's nothing but trouble. Let's go figure it out. Yo, I made it, y'all. Maybe it's easier than I thought. But 71 of that, who didn't fall in the dookie water? I think at least 2, 3 of them fell in the dookie water. You see right there, you literally had to climb up this rock path. And then you get down further into the sewer system. Then it's just a black tunnel for like 20 minutes. And then you come out and it's like a gated in area. And it's just a pool of water that's like 30 feet deep. And the sewer system's like 20 different tunnels. My Mudslandians are taking me to the tunnels. Where are the tunnels at? Let's go. We out right now. Yo. I could not find the tunnels. My good Mudslandians are leading me to the Mudslandian tunnels. What do y'all think is in those tunnels, yo?
Oh, I've been in there.
You been in there?
Yeah. There's like rocks you gotta climb and shit, and then it's just like a platform. And you ever seen the movie, you know It?
Yeah.
Where it's just like the tunnel systems? That's literally it. It's just a tunnel system, but it's like rock, so you gotta be careful before you slip. And then it gets to a big like water box where it's just straight water, like 20 feet of water. And you gotta swim through it, or there's like a little ledge that
you gotta swim through it?
Yeah. Or
all right,
like,
but supposedly in the article, supposedly they were all dry.
Yeah, that's so then they didn't swim.
You saw that, right?
They ain't swim.
That's
me. They did the thing where you
but
climb.
they all got skirts on. You know, Mudslandian skirts. Like, how are they doing all this G.I. Joe stuff? I'm trying to find out. I'm definitely trying to find out.
They have other secret tunnels that we don't know about that they take and use as shortcuts. That's what I think.
We're gonna find out. Boots to the ground journalism. All right, that's what we do. Mudslandians, we come together. We're gonna figure it out. What field trip was this? I'm trying to understand. Usually field trips, you do field days activities and shit. Now I'm saying with an egg and a spoon, or like hacky sack, or like, you know, field day shit, like running and playing and shit. They got me to the cave, y'all. We gonna show you what these Muncie girls, how these Muncie girls entered the tunnels. Get past that like waterfall right there, and it's just a black tunnel for like 20 minutes. And then you come out and it's like a gated in area. And it's just a pool of water that's like 30 feet deep. And you can either like fall, there's like a little ledge, like probably like that wide. That you can just like slide across for like 10 minutes, or you just kind of swim through it. And then once you get past that, it's the sewer system, like 20 different tunnels. That is crazy, y'all. Nah, yo. Yo, this is insane, yo. I'm not gonna lie. This is wild. Yo, what y'all think? Drop it down in the comments, y'all.
Okay. That was on the news the other day. So I got a 12-minute one and then a 7-minute one.
of the New Jersey shipment port blockades discovered that members of Antifa have infiltrated
Shout out
almost
to this
every
channel,
industry, from
CJ
AI
Rap,
engineering, university administration,
channel.
T-Mobile, to the United Nations, lawyers guilds, and nonprofit boards of directors. We use their secret internal group chats to identify the members, highlight their most egregious sins, and track down where they work. And the positions of power that some of them hold genuinely shocked us. These people are everywhere.
We'll go to 3:30, you guys. 3:30, come back at 6 o'clock.
More specifically, the journalist infiltrated an Antifa cell called NJ Byrne. Recently, at Delaney Hall, the illegal immigration detention center in New Jersey, Antifa made headlines by rioting and attacking journalists and law enforcement. NJ Byrne was one of the groups on the ground.
No one's gonna come protect you. Fuck you.
I was personally on the ground at Delaney Hall. I was forced to deploy mace in self-defense and had to retreat into Delaney Hall for my own safety. The violence at Delaney Hall has been brutal and unending. Also, NJ Byrne has been making headlines for shutting down major shipment ports, such as Elizabeth Port in New Jersey.
I've shut down the entrance to the Port of Elizabeth. Port of Elizabeth is one of the most significant ports in the world.
Thanks to the journalists' infiltration of their signal chat groups, O'Keefe Media has been able to review these chats. And within them, they discuss plans for future port blockades and violent protests, celebrations of Charlie Kirk's assassination, and wishes that Trump's assassin had succeeded. Using names and profile pictures from these chats, we were able to track down a few of the members. For example, using the account's profile picture and name, Lex, we were able to match her to a LinkedIn profile for Alexis P. She is a council member of something called the New Jersey Coalition Against Sexual Assault. Lex gleefully expresses that she is a, quote, menace to the white side of her family, laments the fact that minorities have expressed condolences for Charlie Kirk, and expresses how much she, quote, fucking hates centrists and conservatives. When a person with this much anger, hatred, and racism in their hearts is a council member at the New Jersey Coalition Against Sexual Assault, how are white women, or conservative women, or centrist women for that matter, supposed to feel comfortable or safe going to the NJCASA for help? You would think radical chats like this would mostly consist of students and activists. But what we found was much more alarming. These people are everywhere.
We cook your meals. We haul your trash. We connect your calls. We drive your ambulances.
To quote Fight Club, they program your AI, they run your cell phone service, they are execs in medical companies, they are congressional candidates, university administrators, defense attorneys, and perhaps more predictably, ACLU board members. In a chat planning the Elizabeth, New Jersey port blockade, we found Jim Keaty, who served as city councilman in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and also ran for the 4th Congressional District of New Jersey, although he was not successful. Just imagine if our government was infiltrated with Antifa sympathizers.
Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got it.
Not malicious.
Just imagine. Wu Jin Ko was subscribed to the Jackie Support Antifa group chat, which is dedicated to providing support for Jackie McRae, who firebombed 10 NYPD vehicles in 2026. They/she had their Instagram profile linked, which had a matching profile picture to the LinkedIn account. And they're an engineer at OpenAI, the parent company of ChatGPT. So you can only imagine the radical agendas that they/she is programming into ChatGPT responses. Yet another participant with strong authority over the programming of AI technologies is Belkacem Melfak, who works as an AI automation leader and expert for T-Mobile. Out of all of the people we found in these chats, 3 of them work in high-up positions in leading AI companies. These are the people that will be programming and engineering AI technologies long into the future as they become a more and more prevalent aspect of social programming. Turning our attention to Rutgers University, Zainab Tanvir is an imaging director and assistant professor at Rutgers, New Brunswick. So if your children go to Rutgers, just know that the administration that oversees them is also sympathetic, if not complicit, to the Antifa agenda. One such example, in the same Elizabeth Port blockade chat, we found Amanda Dominguez, who is a PhD student at Rutgers and an organizer and coordinator at a workers' rights activist organization called New Labor. On New Labor's mission page, it states that they fight to empower workers and clean up dangerous safety conditions. We are not exactly sure how creating human blockades against truckers trying to do their jobs is empowering them or improving safety conditions, but this apparently meets New Labor standards of employment. Also, in the chat planning the Elizabeth Port blockade, we found a D.T. Rao, who is a doctoral candidate in Princeton's Department of Classics. We can't help but wonder what's going on at Princeton if their doctoral candidates and members of the Department of Classics are engaging in chats celebrating assassinations and plotting to shut down major American shipment ports. Also, in Princeton, New Jersey, at Princeton Theological Seminary, a Presbyterian private school, we found Reverend Shannon Smythe, who serves as the school's director of field education. We couldn't help but wonder if families that are spending over $20,000 a year to send their children to Princeton Theological Seminary were aware that members of the faculty were supportive of Antifa's agenda and disruptive tactics. Cress Volucci was found to have access to NJ Burns' Google Drive, where they upload photos, videos, and even a media kit in preparation for the port blockade on October 3rd. Perhaps quite predictably, Cress Volucci is a board member of the ACLU and a board member and co-founder of the National Lawyers Guild. The ACLU is notorious for defending Antifa rioters in court, so it doesn't come as a major surprise that their board members would be actively participating in their disruptions. For example, in 2017, the ACLU of Oregon notoriously filed a class action lawsuit against the city of Portland on behalf of members of the Rose City Antifa, citing excessive force by police. There's also Celine Simon. Her profile picture featured a poster stating "Everything is political," which was also referenced in her LinkedIn. She is the co-founder of Study Hall Foundation, which is apparently hosted by the United Nations every year for an annual summit. It's probably not even surprising to many of you that the United Nations would give annual summits to companies founded by Antifa members, especially considering the UN infamously tweeted about their, quote, profound concern over a recent statement by the US Attorney General describing Antifa and other anti-fascist activists as domestic terrorists, saying it undermines the rights to freedom of expression and of peaceful assembly.
Speaking a language that they understand, and sometimes that is violence.
Peaceful assembly. Unsurprisingly, we found Thomas Whitehead, who is a PhD doctorate student at Cornell, until he was arrested for assaulting a police officer with a flagpole. When so many aspects of American society are infiltrated by these radical agitators, everyday life can become compromised by their violent agenda. This isn't just an isolated issue. Antifa participants are systematically invading our justice system, our AI technology industries, our university administration, and their students' minds. There is so much work to be done on this issue, and we're calling on the US government to track down these detractors. If Americans are to feel safe and secure, trusting their Justice Department, sending their children to universities, or even using AI technologies, it's clear that something has to be done to cut back the amount of influence that these radicals are seizing. If you work in any government department or influential corporation, and you notice that radical, violent, Antifa-associated individuals are being given positions of power, please reach out to us to be a part of this investigation. You can securely email us at tips@o'keefemediagroup.com or text us on Signal at 9.
I don't know if I don't normally play him, but it looks like he was a good one there. Okay, here's another new one, you guys, so let me know on this one. Never seen this guy.
To apologize deeply for the mass murder of children at Manab School, where 2 Tomahawk missiles ended the lives of 132 children. Many Americans don't know it, but I'm doing my part to apologize, because I don't think any red-blooded American would support the slaughter of children. So that's part of why I'm here. And I'm here now at the former embassy of the United States pre-1979 revolution, where the Iranian people refused. So here I am at the embassy at the desk of the former ambassador himself. not a place that you would normally be able to say such a thing, but I thought it was an appropriate place to send a message to my American family. I know that many of you might interpret things I've said in the past to be anti-American, but that's actually the opposite of the truth. If I didn't care, I would have moved on with my life and carried on doing the things that any sane person would do. Go to the beach, be with my family, go out in nature, go take vacations. But I'm here in the front line because I see the dangers. I see the dangers for Iran, although I'm quite confident they're going to be able to take care of themselves. But I see the danger for our children and future generations. Now, let me be clear. While I'm not a politician, I am here at the embassy, and I'm going to act as sort of a surrogate American ambassador here, and I'm going to speak some reason to you. The President of the United States won his position as the Commander-in-Chief based on two primary promises. Let us recall what those promises were. Number one, he promised to release the Epstein files. That is what he promised, and that is what you wanted. And now that he's in there, he's not only covering for the Epstein files, he's defying the U.S. Congress, which, God bless Thomas Massie, has made an absolute declaration of truth with regard to the policy. The Epstein files, according to law, must be released. Donald J. Trump is covering for those files because he's in the Epstein files. And I would argue that he's on videotape raping children. That would explain why he's not releasing them. So he broke that promise. The other,
I guess he was bad, Lucy. Sorry about that one, you guys.
The World Cup landing on American soil. Let's get into it and stick around because Freedom Fest is only 10 days away and you do not want to miss it. We've got some fun speaker features for you today. Here's your Mountain Minute for Tuesday, June 16th. A huge story out of Colorado right now involves wolves, a federal land deal, and a direct challenge to a 2020 ballot measure. The Colorado Conservation Alliance has filed a report with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service arguing that Proposition 114, the measure that authorized wolf-free introduction in Colorado, never actually passed. The report was prepared by election analyst Seth Keshel, who reviewed all 64 Colorado counties and says his statistical analysis found a high probability of more than 264,000 excess ballots in Colorado's 2020 presidential election. Here's what makes the story even more interesting. Seth Keshel will be speaking at Rocky Mountain Voice Freedom Fest on June 26th in Castle Rock. And Colorado's certified results still show Prop 114 winning by about 57,000 votes. But the coalition is asking federal officials to pause the program pending a closer look. The Colorado Conservation Alliance chairman wrote directly to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service director, Brian Nesvik, arguing that federal staff time and federal dollars have been spent on a program that may not have been authorized by voters at all. Again, this is a Rocky Mountain Voice original, and it's a story that's just getting started. Make sure you check it out. The Colorado GOP has a new leader. Software engineer Craig Steiner was chosen to chair the party after former chair Britta Horn resigned in April, citing what she called a, quote, tremendous divide that those around her refused to stop prolonging. Steiner says he's focused on unity and electing more Republicans, but he's starting from almost nothing. As of June 1st, the Colorado Republican Committee had just $9,812 in the bank, while the Democrats have over $424,000. That's the mountain Steiner has to climb. Colorado PARA, the state's public employee pension, is under a microscope. A Colorado Sun investigation found the fund paid out $10.2 million in performance bonuses to investment staff following one of the worst years in recent memory. In 2022, the portfolio lost $9.8 billion, but managers still beat their benchmarks, so the checks went out anyways. 9 officials each received more than $400,000 the following year, and now a Democratic lawmaker says he plans to introduce legislation to cap those bonuses. PARA says they need to pay competitively to attract talent, but Colorado taxpayers may disagree. Out west, the Bureau of Land Management just opened a 30-day public comment period on the proposed oil and gas lease sale that includes up to 126,744 acres, including land on the Rowan Plateau between Dubuque and Rifle. That area has been a legal battleground before. 114 parcels are on the table for a potential December 2026 auction. If you have thoughts, now's your time to share them. The University of Denver is restructuring after enrollment dropped 19% from its pandemic peak. DU hit 14,130 students in fall of 21, and by 25, that number has fallen to 11,499, erasing years of growth in just 4 years. The university's provost called the last graduation ceremony the official end of the pandemic enrollment boom. And one of the most compelling conservative voices in media is coming to Colorado this month for Freedom Fest. Lee Habib, host of Our American Stories, VP of Content at Salem Media Group, and the man behind some of the biggest names in conservative talk radio, will take the main stage at Rocky Mountain Voice Freedom Fest on June 27th at the Douglas County Fairgrounds in Castle Rock. Habib's show reaches nearly 500 stations and has been downloaded 7 million times in the past year alone, built entirely without a marketing budget. He says storytelling isn't optional, it's urgent work. Don't miss it. Get your tickets. On the national front, huge news. President Trump announced a deal Sunday to end 47 years of hostilities with Iran. The agreement comes alongside the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which the U.S. Navy had blockaded for several weeks after Iran targeted oil tankers. Trump declared on Truth Social on his 80th birthday, no less, "Let the oil flow." A signing ceremony is set for Friday in Switzerland. Full terms were not yet public as of Sunday night, but a Pakistani mediator confirmed both sides declared an immediate and permanent end to military operations. And finally, the 2026 FIFA World Cup is bringing the world to America's doorstep. Over 1.2 million international visitors are expected, and according to Oxford Economics, the tournament is set to spark a powerful rebound in international travel. Visitors are already posting about American comfort food and small town hospitality. 11 cities are hosting matches, and America is putting its best foot forward. That's your Colorado and national rundown. And don't forget, you guys, you have just 10 days left to grab your Freedom Fest.
Okay, Colorado Lady News there. So I got an update for our cat lady, Lucy K. She had to build another channel up, but this one's only a minute. And then I got an 8-minute one on the other British lady, I think. That's pretty good. So I'll do a few more. Oh.
Because the wonderful liberal conservative hating TikTok has decided to not let me appeal and monetize my account no longer. So I've had to create a new account. Please click this link that you see right here. Please go and follow me. My Amazon wish list for the kitty cats will stay on this one until I get over 1,000 followers. For some reason, I can't add the link over there. I guess I have to have 1,000 followers. I know I'm going to lose a lot of you, but I'm hoping most of you will click that link. Please go over there now. I have some breaking news about the plot to unalive everybody at the UFC fight. Please click that link now. Good morning, TikTok.
Okay, so we'll get some more of her fight tonight. Okay, 8 minutes on this one. She's good. Follow.
By enslaved Africans to keep the Lenape people of New York away from their land. They built this place on stolen land. The Lenape people had lived on the island that they called Mannahatta for thousands of years until the Dutch West India Company stole it from them in 1626. The Dutch West India Company had been bringing enslaved Africans to the settlement starting in 1626. It was slaves that cleared the land, it was slaves that built the wall, and it was slaves that laid the road that you now know as Broadway. Then in 1711, they opened an official slave market on this street. This slave market is the origin point of the financial institutions that today are still operating, still collecting fees, still managing index funds that hold your pension, and still sitting at the door of the temple taking their cut. The banks that grew from Wall Street, the institutions that would become JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they were all built on slavery. Not near slavery, not during slavery, on it. Their founding capital came from financing slave plantations. These banks would insure enslaved people as the planters' property, process the proceeds of slave-produced goods, and even accept enslaved people as collateral against loans. The profits these institutions made from slavery were never returned. They compounded over 200 years. Those slave profits are still compounding now, inside the same institutions, under the same names, on the same street. Enslaved people were never compensated. Their descendants were never compensated. The banks that collected their fee at the door then are still collecting their fee at the door now. And this is where your pension lives. The first IPO in history was a colonial extraction vehicle. The stock market, this system of selling shares in a company to the public, was invented in 1602 by the Dutch East India Company. The stock market is not and has never been a neutral mechanism for raising business capital. It was invented to fund conquest. Article 10 of the Dutch East India Company's founding charter stated that all residents of the Netherlands could buy shares. Anybody could invest, anybody could profit. But what they were investing in was colonization, armed trade excursions around the globe. The Dutch East India was a monopoly granted by the Dutch government. It was allowed to trade, negotiate treaties, imprison or execute people, and wage war. They established colonies, they enslaved populations, they built settlements and governed through violence. The Amsterdam Stock Exchange was the world's first stock exchange. The people who designed this system were the wealthiest merchant families in Amsterdam, and they wrote 2 classes of participants into the founding charter. Please excuse my Dutch pronunciation. The 2 classes were bewindhebbers. It's
bewindhebbers. Bewindhebbers.
Bewindhebbers. Bewindhebbers were these guys, the merchant governors who ran the company. They decided what territories to invade, what populations to enslave, which monopolies to enforce, and they set the prices that the second class, the participanten, could buy and sell shares at. The bewindhebbers controlled the books. The participante could not see the accounts. They had no legal right to audit the company they technically part-owned. It was the participante that were actually providing the money that was funding the military operation, the ships, the forts, the colonial administration, by buying shares in the Dutch East India Company. The only people who benefited from this design were the bewindhebbers. They got to use other people's money to build their private empire. They took fees and salaries from the company regardless of performance, and they operated without any accountability to the people whose money they were using. The risk was all socialized through the government back onto the Dutch taxpayers, the same participants who had bought shares. When operations were profitable, they received a small dividend, and when they were not, they absorbed the loss. This 2-class tiering became the template for every major corporate structure since. It is still the case that the shareholder, the retail investor, bears most of the risk. Shareholders of retail stock cannot remove an executive unless the board agrees, and the board is appointed by that executive. The circuit is closed before any shareholder enters the building. If you think you have a say in any of these corporate strategies that you hold retail stock in, they are laughing their way to the bank at you. The Participante could not remove the Bewindhebbers in 1602, and Musk cannot be removed by SpaceX public shareholders in 2026. Every time somebody bought a share in the Dutch East India Company, the Bewindhebbers got more money to spend. But their control and power never shrunk. They never had to share any control or power with these new investors. It didn't matter if it was one new investor, 10, or 1,000. The Bewindhebbers still made every decision. The only thing that grew with each new investor was the pile of money that they controlled, and the number of people that they could blame if it all went wrong. This created a mechanism where you could raise money from thousands of people simultaneously by giving each one of them a small stake, enough that none of them had individual leverage over you, and still keep all of the decision-making power for yourself. The smallness of each individual stake or stock is the point. No single participante could ever own enough stock to demand any accountability from the executives. But the ruling class, the Bewindhebbers, owned enough that collectively among themselves they were able to block any challenge to their power. The stock market did not democratize investment. It industrialized the extraction of capital from people with no power by people with all the power. That is what liquid actually means. The Bewindhebber could access new money continuously anytime they needed more capital, simply by issuing more shares. Find new buyers, take more money, but always staying in control. The supply of money available to them was only limited by how many people they could convince to buy in. 400 years later, this system remains completely unchanged, and it is why Musk is a trillionaire. The Bewindhebbers paid themselves generous salaries, commissions, and private trading profits. They controlled the accounts, and they let the books deteriorate, and the participant could not see them. By the time the scale of the corruption was visible, the entire company was insolvent and had to be bailed out by the Dutch government. Meanwhile, the British East India Company had taken the template and started running the same operation in parallel. Same extraction, different administrative wrapper. The capital that had accumulated from 2 centuries of the Dutch East India Company and the British East India Company did not just disappear. It moved into the British and then American banking system. The stock market was the spine of the transatlantic slave trade. No stock market, no slave trade. Slave voyages were funded by investor syndicates operating on the same principles that the Dutch East India Company had created. Pooled capital, distributed risk, no liability for the individual investors. The wealth that funded the legal and financial architecture that protected slavery came from slavery, and the institutions that held that wealth, the banks, wrote the rules that governed the corporations. And the corporations use those rules still to access public money without accountability. The stock markets today still use that 2-class principle that was written in 1602. This is one continuous unbroken line. The index fund that holds your pension today was designed by institutions built on slavery and exploitation. The bank, JP Morgan, collecting fees on the SpaceX IPO, used to accept human beings as loan collateral. This is not historical context. It's the same institution, the same money, the same family surnames, the same legal structures. SpaceX makes that 2-class structure explicit in its S1 filing. And I will do a follow-up video where we...
Okay, looks like we got another one to follow, you guys. She's sort of like Billy Bean, I think. So she does about 10 minutes or less. I got 2 short ones left, you guys, and we'll come back at 6. Oh. Wrong one. Oh, I do that every time. Where is...
convinced that nothing ever changes in my life.
About 2.5.
My thoughts were swallowed by what I do not have, by what has not come, and by every prayer that feels unanswered. I was chasing the mountain-sized miracles I begged you for, and in my blindness I missed the 1,000 tiny wonders you laid gently in my path. The things that worked out, the troubles that never came, the help that arrived at the right time. And still, I called it an ordinary day. And still, I called it an ordinary day. Lord, I have stared so long at one great breakthrough that I have failed to see how faithfully you carry me through the sacred, trembling smallness of every day. I count what is absent from my life, but I forget to worship what remains. A roof over my head, hands that still reach for me. Another morning I did not earn, yet you gave it to me anyway. Forgive me, Father, for calling your mercies ordinary, simply because they are constant. The sunrise was ordinary until it rose over someone's final breath. One more conversation with someone we love was ordinary, until the day came when love was left with no voice to answer. How quickly I forget that what I overlook with indifference is often what someone else is weeping for in the dark. Today, I ask for nothing, only this, a heart that remembers. To thank you for the blessings I saw, for the blessings I missed, for the battles I knew I was fighting, and for the hidden wars you won for me when I had no strength left to stand. Thank you, Father. Lord.
Okay, our Lion channel there. Okay, our last one, you guys. I'm not sure if we played this one yet or not.
Destination confirmed. Transit initiated. Target acquired. Retrieving event reconstruction. Signal acquired.
Some stars travel in pairs, but a close encounter with a supermassive black hole can tear them apart. One star is captured, while the other one is launched away.
Reconstruction complete.
Target acquired. Matching target velocity. Target velocity matched.
Even though we're both traveling at more than 1 million miles per hour, the star appears almost motionless. Scientists call this relative motion. Every galaxy has an escape velocity. If an object moves faster than that speed, gravity can no longer keep it bound. This star is moving fast enough to leave the Milky Way forever. Behind it is the galaxy it once called home. Ahead lies the darkness between the galaxies, alone and still moving.
Destination logged. Hypervelocity star.
How's this one? That was interesting. All right, man. That was a fast 3 hours, you guys. I want to take a break for a couple hours and show number 2 at 6 o'clock. Thanks, Mods, Case, or Lucy, Carol, K, Tim, and Ryan Eagle. God bless everybody. Love all. Remember, please hit like. Stay strong, keep the faith, and never give up. Signing off. Chico, Dude, Ariella, and Delma. So after dinner time. We'll see you soon.